Hello, good evening, and welcome to Camnet Television Main News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo to present it. Our top stories in the news tonight: midwives in CHIKANKATA district delivering babies using torchlights. Floods in BWEENGWA threaten people's livelihood. VEEP describes indiscriminate waste disposal in LUSAKA'S CBD an emergency. In international news, Doctors Without Borders say 237 migrants rescued off Libyan coast. And in sports news, Brighton tell midfielder MOISES CAICEDO to take time off after asking to leave club.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Hello again, the news in detail. Midwives at CHIKANKATA Clinic in CHIKANKATA district of Southern Province are delivering babies using torches and flashlights from their phones at night, as the place has not yet been electrified. Speaking to Camnet News, CHIKANKATA Clinic officer in charge Gabriel Shayinde says this has also increased the burden of other health workers as they have to attend to patients in the dark. He notes that places like health facilities should be prioritized in electrification to ensure the highest quality of health care for citizens. More in this report.
According to 2022 statistics from the World Bank, Zambia's infant mortality rate stands at 39 babies per 1,000 beds, while the maternal mortality rate stands at 252 per 1,000 beds. This means that for every 1,000 beds, 39 of these babies die, while for every 1,000 women that give birth, 252 die during pregnancy, during labor, or some days after labor due to complications. This is against the country's target of ensuring that the healthcare gap is bridged and that citizens have easy access to quality healthcare by 2030. Some far-flung areas in Zambia are, however, still lagging behind in healthcare, as not even the health facilities are electrified, further enhancing the risk of infant and maternal mortality. This is the case of LUSAKA'S Clinic in CHIKANKATA district of Southern Province, leaving midwives to use flashes from their phones as well as torches to conduct deliveries, as the clinic has not been electrified. LUSAKA'S Clinic officer in charge, Gabriel Shayinde, was speaking to Camnet News.
We do conduct deliveries, but there is no power at night. So I have to use my phone to conduct deliveries and see patients, and this really makes a challenge. And most of the facilities, the population comes here, so at night it's ever busy, and people who need electricity but have got nowhere where I can source power, so that we can make the patients comfortable.
Other residents state that the lack of a mortuary at the clinic, owing to the place not being electrified, is forcing them to go as far as Kafue to deposit bodies of their loved ones.
No chatanda mani tanda utsuwan matent winyi then alimu amalaiti tubikirwe amatoilets alimu amanda ababeresi kutoka bantu kababereka kaboto alimu bantu kabasirikwa kaboto. So turiwano turi clinic yasika migobo clinic nje tubedenje turi kulanganya tuturomba so tuturomba okulombe turomba uti batupego malaiti then amanda abasirisi.
But us, we don't have electricity. We are requesting the New Dawn government to think about us through our able MP, Honorable Jacqueline Sabao, Port Shimbilombe. Is going to put an effort and hear her the way how he's pushing for the electricity for the CHIKANKATA Musaya ward. We are the people who are generating the power, but we don't have electricity in our area. Please, we request the New Dawn government to think about us. We have clinics, we have schools. where will they need power?
Their call is for the current administration to ensure that the clinic is quickly electrified so as to improve the quality of health care that is currently being offered. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News.
Tobacco control advocates are hopeful that government will, in this sitting of Parliament, table the tobacco control bill with chances of enacting it into law. Speaking at a health aerobic activity in Lusaka aimed at raising awareness on the dangers of tobacco, Center of Primary Care Research Director Professor Faston Goma says people should be alive to the facts associated with tobacco smoking of any kind. He notes that over 10 million people die each year as a result of tobacco, a situation he says can be avoided. More in this report.
Tobacco control champions Saturday morning marched in Lusaka to create awareness on the dangers of tobacco, which comes in many forms such as sticks, shisha, and electronic cigarettes. Center for Primary Care Research Director Professor Faston Goma says tobacco control is a must if the fight of non-communicable diseases and lung-related diseases are to be curbed. He notes that millions of people die globally as a result of tobacco usage. Professor Goma is however hopeful that in Zambia, in the sitting of Parliament, the tobacco control bill will be tabled.
People have been in hospital dying of diseases that are caused by tobacco. I am a heart specialist, and it pains my heart to see people coming in with stroke or heart failure, or because they have had a heart attack, or they are coming in very, very breathless because their lungs are totally damaged by tobacco. And we've been having a problem, especially with people who get TB. I'm sure you know that if you smoke, you easily get TB. And when you get TB, it's very difficult to treat. And as it's being treated, you keep on spreading the germs because you don't become sputum negative easily when you are a TB smoker. When you are a tobacco smoker. We are saying tobacco kills, as was said, more than 7,000 people in a year in Zambia alone.
The march past was organized in partnership with Center for Trade Policy and Development, Civil Society for Poverty Reduction, among other youths.
Dying to substance abuse every day, or every year rather. So for us, having new people come and join us this morning shows a strong commitment from young people to actually put a stop to this substance abuse. So one of the other things that we are trying to do here is also to champion legislative review that protects the lives of young people. So the hashtag as well today, while we are talking about passing the tobacco control bill, we are also talking about protecting the present and future generation. So I just want you to say that with me, protect the present and future generation. Protect the present and future generation.
Meanwhile, Ministry of Health Director Health Promotions, Dr. Kalangwa says government is alive to facts surrounding tobacco usage and that stakeholders are working round the clock to ensure that better legislations are put in place for a healthy citizenry.
Zambia ratified the World Health Organization Framework Convention on Tobacco Control in 2008, but we are yet to comply with all its stipulations. The government is now demonstrating a resolve to contain the threat of tobacco through the enactment of the Tobacco Control Bill. As a ministry, we remain committed to this cause. As you might have heard, the Tobacco Control Bill is scheduled to be tabled in Cabinet, and it is my sincere hope that it will be enacted into law. We all know that once the Tobacco Control Bill is enacted into law, we are optimistic that it will help in reducing the high prevalence of non-communicable diseases in Zambia.
Sharon Kalimbola, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Police in Lusaka have shot dead one suspected criminal and recovered an AK-47 rifle with ammunition, while two others are on the run. Police Assistant Public Relations Officer Godfrey Chilabi says the incidents occurred Friday evening along Kasangula Road after police received a tip-off from an informant that criminals were about to stage a robbery. Mr. Chilabi says the anti-robbery squad was quickly dispatched to the area and that the team spotted a Toyota Axio along Kasangula Road matching the description given by the informant. He says 3 suspected criminals were spotted standing outside and that upon being challenged by the police, an exchange of fire ensued between the suspected criminals and the police. Mr. Chilabi says 2 criminals managed to jump onto the Axio motor vehicle and sped off while one was hit by a bullet and fell down.
Police in Lusaka have shot dead 1 suspected dangerous criminal and recovered an AK-47 rifle with ammunition. The incident occurred on January 27, 2023, around 18 hours along Kasangula Road. Acting on a tip-off from an informer that criminals were about to stage a robbery, the anti-robbery squad was quickly dispatched to the area. Facts of the matter are that the anti-robbery squad spotted a Toyota Axio along Kasangula Road, matching the description given by the informant. The said motor vehicle was parked by the roadside with 3 suspected criminals standing outside. Upon being challenged by the police, an exchange of fire ensued between the suspected criminals and the police. 2 criminals managed to jump onto the Axio motor vehicle and sped off while one was hit by a bullet and fell down. When officers advanced to pick him up, an AK-47 rifle with erased serial number with 4 rounds of ammunition was recovered. He was picked and rushed to Invest Teaching Hospital for treatment. Unfortunately, he was pronounced dead upon arrival. The deceased is believed to have escaped from the recent shooting incident in Kitwe involving a theft of motor vehicle that occurred at Wempala police station. He is also believed to have been behind a spate of aggravated robberies that occurred between Copperbelt and Lusaka provinces. An inquiry file has since been opened, while a manhunt has been instituted into the other 2 who fled. The body of the deceased is in Invest Teaching Hospital mortuary awaiting post-mortem.
Minister of Green Economy and Environment Collins Nzovu has urged people of BWEENGWA district in Southern Province to exercise extra caution when crossing flooded areas to avoid the loss of lives. Speaking in Southern Province Saturday, Mr. Nzovu says the flash floods which are currently being experienced in the area pose a cause for concern as forecasters from the Zambia Meteorology Department show that the area is expected to experience normal to above normal rainfall for the next 10 days. He adds that the situation will be presented to Cabinet to find solutions as even animals have no grazing land due to the floods. He was accompanied by Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit DMMU National Coordinator Gabriel Pollen and Central Province Minister Credo Nanjua, among others.
Presenting to Cabinet, Vice President's office is presented here by DMMU, reported to Cabinet, reported to the President. We think that this is a problem of immense proportions, short of calling it a disaster. We call upon, obviously, we will be, as Cabinet, will be sitting to see how we respond. The people's fields are completely flooded. We do not expect any harvest here. The people's water sources, drinking water, is not there. The people's very livelihoods is not here. So DMMU actually has a big task, and as government we want to ensure that we put enough funding for DMMU to respond to our people. What is the advice to our people? The advice to our people is that please be patient with us. I know it's a disaster. Be patient in the way you cross certain points. We've seen people, even as water is rising and the river flows are increasing, they are still crossing those points. We've lost lives. We do not want to lose any more lives. These are flash floods, which means that the reservoir level, the water levels rise very, very quickly. So it's very, very dangerous. We should be cautious.
Republican Vice President Mtalena Lumango has directed the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development to declare the problem of indiscriminate waste disposal in Lusaka's Central Business District as an emergency. Speaking when conducting a cleaning exercise Saturday morning, the Vice President says the local authority should disburse trucks to clear garbage in the CBD as well as in drainages to prevent flooding. She adds that cholera, which has broken out in the eastern part of the country, should not be allowed to break out in other parts of the country, as it will cost the country a lot of money to control. More in this report.
The Central Business District CBD of Lusaka City, which is Zambia's capital, is well known for indiscriminate waste disposal, painting a bad image of the country as it is the face of the nation. This has been mainly attributed to indiscriminate waste disposal by street vendors as well as by citizens. The rain season further increases the risk of waterborne diseases as the waste, coupled with floods, make a recipe for disaster. With 4 cases of cholera having been confirmed in Vubi district of Eastern Province, 7 being investigated, and 1 dead, Republican Vice President Mutalena Lumango says the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development should treat the issue of indiscriminate waste disposal as an emergency. She was speaking in Lusaka CBD Saturday morning during a cleanup exercise.
Let us all take responsibility. Local government working with the city council who must take it as an emergency urgent matter for you to ensure that the contractors are given no contract. Because we're here for over a year, nothing has been happening. Decisions are made by July. There is nothing that you can control when you put your hand into it.
Meanwhile, Lusaka residents have urged their fellows to exercise responsibility. The Republican Vice President states that there is need for local authorities to be proactive, failure to which the country will lose a lot of funds in dealing with the cholera outbreak. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Republican Progressive Party, RPP, acting President Cassius Akapelwa has predicted that the numbers of people who will choose the United Party for National Development, UPND, in 2026 will double from the over 2.8 million that it had in 2021 once citizens see the country's economy take off. Speaking to Camnet News, the UPND Alliance partner says the current administration is still popular on the ground despite various challenges the country is going through. He says the current administration is conducting engagements on the ground to ensure that citizens, especially the youths, know what is being done to address various challenges that they are facing. Mr. Akapelwa notes that all unnecessary criticizing is simply politicking, stating that even opposition politicians themselves know that the current administration is working hard in trying to improve the living standards of Zambians.
The engagement process is ongoing. This is why we're advising our colleagues from different parts of this country that carry out an engagement process where the young people can be engaged and give them hope, because obviously they can't all be swallowed at the same time. But I think the process at an engagement level is a responsibility to every executive member in the UPND. Let us carry an engagement process. Let us engage the young people that we know we will still need them in the future. So when you ask me a question on the 2026 elections, what will necessitate the UPND to even stay long in power is by way of making sure there's economic sense in every household. And I know that the President is laboring much to offer the economic solutions to many of these households. That's what will keep the UPND alive. And that's what will make UPND even 2026 come to even double the number in that sense. Because the Zambians, all that they are looking for is the Messiah that they voted for and bring them economic development in their households. And that's all what the Zambian people are looking for.
The opposition Third Liberation Movement Party says Zambians are expectant to see short-term benefits that will arise from the various presidential trips that are being undertaken by the head of state. In an interview, Third Liberation Movement Party President Enoch Tonga notes that while the current administration has been stating that the trips are aimed at benefiting the country, all these are long-term. He warns that the current administration risks finishing its 5-year mandate without improving the living standards of ordinary Zambians, as all their plans seem to be for the long term.
If you are a father or a mother, your first focus or priority is to see to it that your children in the house have eaten. Now, Hakainde S. Hichilema, being the head of state, is running the Republic of Zambia, through the ticket of UPND. This is a father of a house called Zambia. And when you look at the way this leader has been running the affairs, I think mainly he has been going out of the Republic of Zambia. So many flights, every now and again. Maybe what we can only say now is that in a month, he wants to take almost every day. And the argument is that he is going out there to go and work so that he brings food on the table. That is what is there. Now, our concern is, if indeed the head of state goes out of the Republic of Zambia to wherever has been going in looking for food for the children, then what is it that he has brought? The common man, his worry is this, that in 100 kwacha, 100 kwacha nizagula mochani. Am I going to buy umusalu, vegetable, tomato, malasha, kapamela? That's a challenge that people of Zambia are going through. That's a poor person, the common person, an ordinary citizen. So one Hakainde Hichilema and his UPND administration, they must be saying, how best can we go on the ground and ensure that the people of Zambia have got what they need, to have got a meal on the table.
We take a commercial break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, my dear. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You've heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes, and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Good news, good news. The rains have started. You need to plan your future. Generational wealth is the way to go. Has grafted avocado plants fruiting within 2 to 3 years for sale at only 90 kwacha each, and ordinary avocados at only 45 kwacha each. Contact us on 0979 753010 or 0962 965 883. We are open from 8 hours to 17 hours, Monday to Friday, at Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill, opposite Hilltop Hospital.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. Minister of Small and Medium Enterprise Development, Elias Mubanga, says financial literacy, lack of financial knowledge gap, limited entrepreneurship skills and limited access to market are some of the challenges that small and medium enterprises face. Speaking at the launch of the Great North Credit Financial Institution Friday evening, Engineer Mubanga says microfinancial institutions are helping bridging the gap, the financial gap that exists. He says such institutions have created opportunities for people to access financing for various needs without being in possession of huge collateral and securities demanded by commercial banks. The minister says government is impressed to see homegrown companies owned by indigenous Zambians contributing positively to the development of Zambia. And Great North Credit Chairman Richard Piri has pledged to continue contributing to the development of Zambia by opening more companies. More in this report.
One of the major setbacks that Zambian small and medium enterprise continue to struggle with includes financial literacy, lack of access to cheap financing, knowledge gap, limited entrepreneurship skills, and limited access to market. With Zambia having a liberalized economy with a free open market, many small and medium businesses have failed to compete with bigger businesses due to lack of capital. To bridge the gap in the financing challenges, a Zambian real-owned entrepreneur, Dr. Johnston Chikwanda, has officially launched the Great North Credit, a financial institution that will give an opportunity to small and medium businesses to have access to financing without being in possession of huge collateral and securities demanded by commercial banks. Minister of Small and Medium Enterprise Elias Mubanga, who was guest of honor at the launch, has since challenged the institution to ensure that its growth plans are actualized and services extended to other provinces, especially in rural areas where access to financing still remains a challenge.
Make some effort to ensure that your growth, the plans, when you are actualizing this, can you also get into the rural areas? We do have business people there. We do have business mind there. But it's difficult for the people in the rural areas to have access to finance. Extremely difficult. For them, even a 150, that's capital. Those in the rural areas.
And Bank of Zambia Assistant Director Examinations and Surveillance Joseph Munyoro says the bank is impressed that more financial institutions are coming on board as this will allow for competition in the financial sector.
The board chairperson talked of the fact that competition is making business a bit tough, but for us we see it as good because it is through competition that you start beginning to realize efficiency gains. You start seeing interest rates coming down, and you start seeing the innovation that the board chairperson talked about, introducing of new products that speak to the specific needs of credit users.
And Great North Credit Board Chairperson Richard Piri has appealed to the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise to open a microfinance fund for businesses to have access to financing through them.
It is for this reason that we are calling upon your office, sir, to facilitate for the creation of a fund where microfinance institutions such as ourselves can be tapping from finance from at a low interest or affordable interest, so that we can use this to increase our capacity to meet the growing demand of financing for SMEs in our growing economy.
Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV News.
Zambia Correctional Services Commissioner General Frederick Chilukutu is concerned with the increasing population of inmates in all its facilities countrywide. Mr. Chilukutu says the increasing population of inmates is proving to be a feeding cost burden to the institution. Speaking during a courtesy call on Eastern Province Permanent Secretary Paul Tole today, the Zambia Correctional Service Chief said the increased number of inmates has been contributed by the continued influx of illegal immigrants entering the country from various points, including Eastern Province. More in this report.
Correctional Services Commissioner General Frederick Chilukutu is in Eastern Province on a 5-day tour of duty. The Commissioner General paid a courtesy call on Eastern Province Permanent Secretary Potole. Mr. Chilukutu outlined the challenges concerning the inmates population in correctional facilities countrywide.
The population of the inmates in the country is growing by the day. We are trying to analyze what is causing the trend of the population going up. But we also observe that we have a lot of immigrants pouring into the country, especially here in the Eastern Province. We have had a lot of immigrants, illegal immigrants, I must emphasize, coming through the Nakonde border over time. But I think the state has tightened up security in that circuit, and it's like it has been weak on this part. So many now are coming through the borders with our neighboring countries.
The Commissioner General also outlined the agricultural activities carried out by the Correctional Service in the province.
As a service, we have grown 250 hectares of maize in the entire province. We also have grown 200 hectares of soybeans, and also we have an average of 50 hectares of other crops, sorghum, sunflower, and groundnuts in that combination.
And Mr. Tole commended the Zambia Correctional Services for its works.
I did trespass in 1 or 2 districts where your farming activities are taking place. The crop relatively looks better than the crop in the general public, meaning indeed the inputs you receive them on time. And my reference to it, I was wondering, but now I've gotten the answer. That these are the remnants of inputs which remain from last agricultural season.
Sylvester Chimba for Zanis in Chipata District, Eastern Province.
Chief Mumena of the Kaonde-speaking people in Kalumbila District has called on government to protect farmers from accessing counterfeit fertilizer from unscrupulous individuals in the next farming season. The traditional leader also called on export trading company ETG and other companies to come on board and supply certified fertilizers to the farmers in order to protect the crops. Chief Mumena was speaking when ETG sales and marketing manager Siankoni Zulu paid a courtesy call on him at his palace. He further encouraged farmers to work as a team so that they can contribute and buy chemicals to control the 4 armyworms as they wait for government support to save their crops. The traditional leader further commended the government for distributing all the inputs to the farmers in the district. He, however, called for early distribution of inputs next farming season. And export trading company sales and marketing manager Siankoni Zulu has assured the traditional leader that the company will open more outlets to enable farmers access inputs and other agrochemicals closer to their farms. Mr. Zulu added that ETG will continue to deliver the inputs early next farming season.
He has taken time to interact with the team from export trading company ETG, the suppliers of farmer input support program VEEP inputs in Northwestern Province. This is Chief Mumena of the Kaonde-speaking people in Kalumbila District. The traditional leader has called on government to protect farmers from accessing counterfeit fertilizers from dishonest individuals in the next farming season.
We are also aware that most of our people depend on farming as a way of supporting themselves. Sure. So we want to encourage as many groups as possible to come on board, but with the right kind of fertilizer. The last few seasons we've had trouble with the counterfeit kinds of fertilizers, and the farmers need to be protected. So we want to rely on teams such as yourselves, and if there are any others that are going to bring, let also those be certified by government so that the yields are protected. So once again, thank you very much to government for having given ETG the privilege to serve us as a province. And we want to see that we can work with you further, but please open up your markets so that the other crops that you're interested in can also be bought.
He is calling for more collaborations among the farmers to control the outbreak of the 4 armyworms.
there's very little information that is going out to the farmers on how best to use them. They are spending money getting weed control,
but at the end of the day,
nothing comes out. It means that there's an information gap which the farmers require.
Export Trading Company ETG Sales and Marketing Manager Siankoni Zulu, who paid a Kete score on Chief Mena, assured the traditional leader that the company will open more outlets to enable farmers access inputs and other agrochemicals closer to their farms.
As ETG, we've deliberately trying to reduce the distances our farmers are covering, traveling just to get a bag of fertilizer. As you said already, it's quite sad that we still have counterfeit fertilizer. We are trying to curb this vice because we understand that, as we said already, it's a business, and if I'm going to waste my money on something which will not pay me in terms of producing the solution, then I'm in trouble. It's our commitment that we are here to help our farmers and we want to grow with our farmers.
Clifford Chituta reporting in Karumbira District, Northwestern Province.
The Zambia Sugar PLC has scooped 3 awards at the 12th Lusaka Securities Exchange LUSE Corporate Governance Awards. The company won 3 awards at the show, scooping second-place prizes in the Corporate Governance, Sustainability and Green Award categories. The awards were hosted in Lusaka Friday and recognized excellence in the 2021 financial year. The awards are an annual event, implying that Zambia Sugar's continued stellar performance in 2022 will be considered at next year's event, as its 2022 annual financial statements are already out. The awards have been held since 2007 to recognize listed companies that exceptionally adhere to the LUSE Corporate Governance Code. This year's event was graced by the Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stumbekom Sokotwane, represented by the Accountant General, Mr. Kennedy Musonda. You're watching Camnet Television News. We'll take a second and final break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
Good news, good news. The rains have started. You need to plan your future. Generation wealth is the way to go. Has grafted avocado plants fruiting within 2 to 3 years for sale at only 90 kwacha each, and ordinary avocados at only 45 kwacha each. Contact us on 0979 753010 or 0962 965 883. We are open from 8 hours to 17 hours, Monday to Friday, at Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill, opposite Hilltop Hospital.
Welcome back. And now in international news, French medical charity Doctors Without Borders, or MSF, shared Friday, January 27, footage of the rescue of 237 migrants off the Libyan coast. The NGO's chartered rescue vessel was sailing in the Mediterranean Sea, north of the country's capital Tripoli on Wednesday, when it received a distress call. The Geo Barents ship later encountered other overcrowded rubber dinghies with migrants attempting to reach Europe and took them on board. Following instructions by the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center, the ship then sailed towards the northern Italian port of La Spezia. MSF and other NGOs operating rescue vessels off Africa's northern coast accused the Italian government of deliberately assigning faraway ports to discourage their operations, which Italy's Interior Ministry denied. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
French medical charity Doctors Without Borders, or MSF, shared Friday footage of the rescue of 237 migrants off the Libyan coast. The NGO's chartered rescue vessel was sailing in the Mediterranean north of Tripoli on Wednesday when it received a distress call. The Geo Barents ship later encountered other overcrowded rubber dinghies with migrants attempting to reach Europe and took them on board. Following instructions, the ship then sailed towards the northern Italian port of La Spezia. NGOs operating rescue vessels off Africa's northern coast accused the Italian government of deliberately assigning faraway ports to discourage the operations, which Italy denied.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen concluded her tour of South Africa on Friday with a visit to Emalaleni, the coal mining town which produces most of the coal South Africa relies on to fire its power stations. She called on robust training and re-evaluation of the coal industry for a reliable transition within the economic framework of South Africa.
Facilitating a transition that leaves no one behind requires job retraining and reskilling like we saw today. It also requires the redevelopment of former fossil fuel and power sites and investments in infrastructure to support the development of new industries and economic opportunities.
She further said that the U.S. was committed to ensuring that existing workers were reskilled in order to find work opportunities in the renewable energy sector and at the same time addressing the massive unemployment in the southern African country.
That's why we're here today, is to see the ways in which partnering together, we're able to see a path by which, to start with, South Africa has had very high youth unemployment, but we certainly want to both address that and certainly make sure that the transition doesn't leave workers and the next generation of young people behind.
The Biden administration has been reinitiating its ties with Africa, given the infiltration of the Russian influence in other African countries lately. South Africa was the last leg of Janet Yellen's tour, which included visits to Senegal and Zambia.
Let's now have some sports news. Brighton have told midfielder Moises CAICEDO to take time off until after Tuesday's transfer deadline. The move comes amid uncertainty over the 21-year-old's future after he told them he wanted to be allowed to leave after bids from Arsenal and Chelsea. The Seagulls remain insistent that they do not want to sell CAICEDO this month and that the player is not for sale. The decision means the Ecuador international will miss Sunday's FA Cup fourth-round tie against Liverpool. Brighton feel it is in no one's interest for CAICEDO to be around the club at present, but still expect him to be with them for the remainder of the season. CAICEDO has made 26 appearances for the South Coast club in the Premier League, scoring twice, and is under contract until 2025. Brighton have turned down a £60 million bid from Premier League leaders Arsenal for him, and also reportedly rejected an earlier £55 million offer by Chelsea. In direct communication with the Gunners, the Seagulls have reiterated that CAICEDO is not for sale. To end Camnet television news, the headlines once again. Midwives in CHIKANKATA delivering babies using torchlights. Floods in BWEENGWA threaten people's livelihood. VEEP describes indiscriminate waste disposal in Lusaka's Central Business District as an emergency. In international news, Doctors Without Borders say 237 migrants rescued off Libyan coast. And in sports news, Brighton tell midfielder Moises CAICEDO to take time off after asking to leave club. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from Ephesians 3 verse 16. I pray that out of his glorious riches he may strengthen you with power through his spirit in your inner being. Thank you so much for watching Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Siambo. Good night.